Good morning, y'all. This is Debbie Arnold with Dining with Debbie. Today I'm here to talk to you about a Southern staple that I think everybody should get to know, and that's collard greens. Collard greens used to be considered something that was left over in the field, and people who could not afford otherwise would go and gather those, and that would be their meal. Well, I grew up with collard greens because my grandmothers both loved them. And so for me, it was just something that we found on the dinner table quite often. But I think there's a special way that you prepare them, and I want to teach you about how I do that today. First of all, this is a collard green. They grow in big bunches. I have some growing in my garden right now. Mine aren't quite this large yet. I did buy these at the market. But I want to show you first of all how we go about getting these ready and preparing these to cook. One of the things you need to know about collard greens is they are extremely nutritious. They are very high in vitamins A, C, and K, calcium for certain, lots of iron, lots of magnesium. They're very nutritious, and they're so easily prepared. And I really think they've gotten a bad rap, but they seem to be coming or having a resurgence along with kale these days. In fact, they may be replacing kale as a popular green right now. I don't know, but I love them both. But anyway, we're going to start with this leaf, and it takes about 2 pounds of collard greens for us. They cook way down once you get them started, just like spinach would do or kale would do, just like any other greens. Now, you can cut this stem out, or you can just do like I do, and I just strip them just like that. I do not throw these stems away. A lot of people will. You do not want to eat them raw. I don't think you would find them very pleasurable, but I like to take them and use the tender parts of the stem. I like to saute them and then add them to my greens a little bit later on in the cooking. Right now I have a smoked turkey leg that's in the pressure cooker, and it's going to cook for a little while, and then I'm going to take it out and strip that smoked turkey meat off of that turkey leg, and I'm going to include that in my collard greens later on. I'm also going to be using some Petit Meats bacon as part of a seasoning of the collard greens. You don't have to. If you are a vegetarian, you can certainly adapt this recipe to your taste. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go through and we're going to strip our stems and our leaves. And what I'll do is I'm going to shift the camera just a little bit so I can show you how I go about cutting up the greens and the stems. And I do kind of what's called a chiffonade. That's a fancy word for you're going to roll them up and then you're going to slice them up. I have washed these very well, even though they came from the market and even though they're organic. I think there's lots of grit that hides out in collard greens. So I wash them very well. All right, let me shift you down here so you can see on my cutting board. I have rolled these leaves up, and I have quite a few more to go, so I'll get those in a little while. But roll them up, and then I just chop them, roughly chop them. You don't need to fine chop them at all because they are going to cook way down, okay? And then I'm just going to put them into my colander, and they will wait there until I get ready to have them all done. As far as the stems are concerned, okay, the very end piece that's probably been exposed to the air for quite some time, I will cut that off and get rid of that. That'll go in the compost pile. Certainly don't put it down your garbage disposal because they are so fibrous that you might have a mess. Anyway, I'm going to coarsely chop those, and once I get all of the stems harvested and the leaves harvested, then I will saute these. And so I'll come back and show you how I saute these and what I use to do that with. But these are so good. Do not throw them away. That's wasteful for one thing. And the tender part of the stem is easily eaten. And so I think it adds a nice texture to your greens. Anyway, so I'll come back in a little while and show you how I saute these and how I prep them to put them into the pressure cooker or the slow cooker. You can certainly do it on the stove top too, if you prefer. All right, I'll see you in just a little bit. Okay, so what I have right now are some slices of bacon that have been chopped up, and I'm sauteing those in just a little bit of olive oil in my skillet. To that, I'm going to add about half of an onion, approximately a cup of onion that's all been chopped up. And I also have 2 cloves of garlic that have been chopped up, and I'll add those here in just a little while. I am using Petit Jean Meats bacon. I normally use the thick sliced bacon, but I didn't happen to have any. I just had regular bacon, and that's fine if that's what you want to use. Now, I mentioned to you that I'm using smoked turkey in these collard greens. I just think that's a wonderful combination. But if you've got ham or a ham hock, then certainly you can use that as well. Leftover dark meat turkey from your Thanksgiving turkey or whenever you have turkey would work as well too. I just like the flavor that the turkey leg offers, and sometimes this time of the year you can find those at a really good price, and I just buy a few and stick them in my freezer for things just like this. I don't have any idea this year how the prices are going to be. But I will probably pick up at least 2 or 3 to stick in my freezer, but I've got to find room in my freezer to do that. Okay, so we're sauteing the onion with the bacon. You know, if you had salt pork, you could use that. I would rinse off some of the salt myself, but that's up to you. If you had pork belly, that would work really well. Even pancetta would work really nicely in this. But just how fancy you want to get. These are collard greens, and I'm cooking them up the old southern way that I like. So we're going to saute that onion and those pieces of bacon in there. I'm going to add in our chopped stems that we've already prepared, and I'm going to let these saute for a while. And once I get them nice and tender, then I will add in the garlic. You wouldn't want to add the garlic now because it would scorch before you got through. These will need to saute for a few minutes before I add them to our slow cooker pot. And like I said, you can cook this on pressure cooking. You can do it in a slow cooker. You can do it on the stove top. You're just going to have to adjust your times. The smell is really, really nice right now. So I'm going to let these saute for a few minutes, probably about 10 minutes. Then I'll come back and we'll add in the garlic, and then we'll put it all together and get it in the pot for you. Okay, so I'm back and I'm about ready to finish up getting all of our ingredients into the pot for it to cook. Again, we're cooking up collard greens and we're saving the stems for that delicious texture and taste that they're going to add to our collard greens. I have stripped the turkey leg of its meat, and we'll be adding that to the pot along with the stems and the collards. Now I want you to see that, so I'm going to shift the camera. All right. So our collard stems, our bacon, and our onion have all sauteed here for about 10 minutes. They're nice and tender. I'm going to add those into our slow cooker. I'll slow cook these for about 5 to 6 hours, or I can pressure cook them for a much shorter period of time, obviously. And depends on how much time you have, right? So don't you love that green? It's a vibrant green that the stems are now, just from the cooking of them. Excuse me. I don't know about y'all, but it's raining leaves outside in my yard today. We have lots of trees, and I love my trees. And I don't mind the leaves that are falling out there right now. They're absolutely gorgeous. The colors are beautiful this fall. All right. And I also had added in the garlic here and sauteed that just for a few seconds before I started adding them to the pot. All right, I'm going to add in our collard greens, and if you'll see here, we have a complete colander full of collard greens. And this will cook down and easily feed, probably, depends on what you're serving with it, but certainly 4 people. Because they're going to cook way down. You'll be surprised. If you've never cooked greens, collard greens, turnip greens, or mustard greens, any of those. And that's one of the reasons I also have this big pot that I'm using. This is the larger Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, you know, your slow cooker will work just fine. I'm going to shift this camera a little bit so you can see a little bit better maybe. Maybe not. Anyway, so the collard greens are all in here. I'm going to sprinkle in about probably a quarter to a half teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And that depends on your taste. And then add in some salt and pepper. The leaves are falling, so is it hay fever season? Because whatever it is, I have it. That's okay. Otherwise, I am doing well. My surgery went well, and I'm feeling well. Just doing what the doctor said to do, taking care of myself. So, and another thing that I'm going to add in here before I add in the turkey meat is I'm going to add in about a quarter of a cup of balsamic vinegar. And this is Denigris balsamic vinegar. And I just love it. So if you have not discovered Denigris yet, you can find it just about in any market now. About a quarter of a cup. This is I like the taste that the balsamic adds to the collard greens. You might want to start with a little bit less if you're not familiar with it and don't know how it tastes. All right. So add that in. Now I'm going to add in my turkey meat. Now I have in the pot the broth from when I pressure cooked the turkey, and a little bit of chicken bouillon. You can adjust that. You're going to need about 2 cups or so of liquid in your pot. So I enhanced that with a chicken bouillon cube, and so it's going to be nice and flavorful. Let's see if I can get this over here so you can see that a little bit better. And put the top on, and we are good to go. And I hope that you will give these a try. We're going to set them to cook, and I'll be back to show you the finished product. Thanks a lot for being here this morning. So here are our finished collard greens with a smoked turkey. We're going to finish these off with a little hot pepper sauce if you want at the table. But they are so good, y'all, and they're not cooked to death. They've still got just a little bit of texture to them. Those stems that are in there are even going to add another little bite. Let me encourage you to try collard greens if you never have before, and do it this very easy way and very tasteful way. Again, thank you for coming, and I hope you'll come again soon. Southern collard greens at their best, y'all.